Welcome to Season 2 of the Grand Teton Music Festival's Backstage Pass, your once-a-month invitation to gather everyone who loves and supports this festival. We are reconnecting our musicians, our friends, our supporters, and welcoming anyone who's drawn to be part of the GTMF community. Backstage Pass is creating in alliance with GTMF's new On Location series, which features its festival musicians performing in their home cities each month. And you can watch those on-location concerts as well as access any of our Backstage Pass episodes simply by going to the Grand Teton Music Festival's webpage or finding us on social media. My name is Cappelletti Chao, and I am happy to be one of your co-hosts for this Backstage Pass. I'm a violinist at GTMF, and I've been a member of GTMF for almost 20 years.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see all of you. My name is Jerry Ho. I'm the Associate Conductor for the Grand Teton Music Festival, and I've been with the festival for, I believe, 5 years now. And of course, this show would not be possible without our producer and technical guru, Mike Richards, and his lovely, beautiful cat.
This is Tali. She's the director making an appearance. She's the boss. She wants to get down now, but we had her do her little cameo. All right, guys, take it away. Have fun.
Her catmeo. Hey, Jerry, good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Eva.
I see that you are at Rice. I'm now starting to understand your backgrounds. And then I know that you're spending some time down in Atlanta as well.
Yeah, so I've been going back and forth, working there at the Atlanta Symphony, as well as the youth orchestra, and as well as teaching here. And so things are sort of getting going in both locations. Orchestra is starting up on Monday here at Rice, and we've been going now for about 5 rehearsals with the Atlanta Symphony Youth Orchestra.
Wow.
And so yeah, it's hard to believe, but we're the students are coming together and we're performing, and not performing yet, we're rehearsing, and we have a performance in middle of March that we're going to record. So, but we're following a lot of the protocols that the Atlanta Symphony is following. So a lot of from our GTMF family, of course, plays in Atlanta, and we have 35 players max on stage. So
wow.
Divided the orchestra, which is usually about 100 players, into 4 groups. So a chamber orchestra, sort of a wind dectet, a brass ensemble, and then a string orchestra. So.
And are you conducting all of that?
I am conducting all of it. So it's quite a long day. All
this repertoire, all of these groupings of students.
Yeah.
How are you doing all of that?
I'm getting used to it, but it's quite a long day. So we start at 10 on Saturdays, and I conduct almost nearly the whole time from 10 till 5, and just one rehearsal to the next.
Wow.
So, but it's going well, and the students are really loving playing.
Yeah, and that I definitely think that there's an itchy feeling for all of us to get back together again that is even more intense, I think, than when this all first went down and we were like, what? So I know that we've got a video so we can kind of see you in action. Intense. What is it?
That's the Martinu double concerto for string orchestra, piano, and timpani.
Wow.
And if you know it, it's a fantastic piece. It's one of the pieces that was commissioned by Paul Zocker and the Basel Chamber Orchestra. So it's like music for strings, percussion, celeste, sort of in that vein. And so, in trying to do all of this, and trying to figure out the instrumentations for everything. So I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that we had something that had piano playing, had harps playing. So we're also doing the Mahler Adagietto, had enough for the percussion. And so it was trying to figure out repertoire for a lot of these.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but we have some great repertoire, and the students are enjoying it, and we're figuring it out.
Yeah, that's amazing. You must be learning so much actually through this time.
It's been great, just to see the dedication and passion and commitment of these students to coming every Saturday and jumping through these hoops that they have to of testing and all the protocols of wearing masks and being distanced and just so they can play music with each other. So it's I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's really totally amazing. What I think is really difficult for musicians during this time is that we can't engage and in the ways that we really feel pulled to. So I'm finding it interesting what of all of my, since I'm a freelancer, like what is actually coming and allowing me to engage. I've been coaching the students at Georgetown University for years, and that has been a really heartening experience to work live with these students. And in a way, they have a resiliency because they don't have a job to lose. They have nothing to lose. They're in it for the learning of it. And there's something about that that really is moving for me. Everybody's got an amazing attitude. It pulls me back into that kind of a mindset. And the other ways that I'm getting to engage right now is that I'm getting, again, to play for people in hospice. And so that is really powerful, even though it is still over Zoom. To be able to engage in that way again is really powerful. And then I just got my first tango gig again, which just sort of yanks me all out of like, oh, wait a minute, not my sweats but to play tango and how fun that is and play with a bandoneon and like just to hear those sounds again and everything else that is just waking me back up again.
Well, that's great. That's so fantastic to hear that you have so many avenues and outlets to at least engaged. I mean, we're almost a year on now from when everything started. So it's good to know that things are really starting to happen again. As we've talked to past guests, it's still very regional and how different it is, from New York to Chicago to Houston. And now we're going to, of course, also talk to our guests today from...
Yeah, let's find out what's going on.
We have the great pleasure to have two musicians from the Utah Symphony Orchestra. And we have with us today, Madeline Adkins, who is the concert master, not only in the orchestra there, but as well as for the Grand Teton Music Festival. And of course, Jason Hardink, pianist for both orchestras. So please join us, Jason and Madeline.
Hi.
Hey, great to see you.
Good to see you guys.
How are you? How are things in Utah?
Well, there's not nearly enough snow. I think all our people would be pretty jealous of your Houston freezing cold temperatures there, Jerry, because everyone here is wishing there was a lot more snow than there is. But other than that, we're hanging in there.
Give us kind of a little bit of a picture of what's happening with the Utah Symphony. How often are you getting on the stage? What does it look like?
Yeah, I'm sure it's the same as other orchestras, but we're right now we're in not a holding pattern, but we're waiting for our venue to allow live audiences again. Right now, the county is not allowing audiences through, I think, at least mid-March. So we've been releasing streaming programs that we, record on a Friday and Saturday and try to get them out as soon as possible, and doing education initiatives and stuff like that. We started out the season with them allowing, 200-300 people in the hall spread out. So we did start out in September by playing concerts, and then as cases rose, they decided to shut down the facilities, but they're letting us rehearse and record. So
is it every week still for you, or have they also lessened the weeks?
Well, it's sort of like right now we're on a couple of education weeks where it's mostly individuals teaching master classes and doing Zoom calls with student groups and a variety of small initiatives like that. And then I think we come back at the end of the month with a program that we're planning to record.
You've got the orchestra and you're doing whatever size orchestral concerts you can for streaming. And then otherwise you're kind of in the community, like giving the master classes. And so you're kind of actually doing this balance that all orchestras have always been, or at least in the last 2 decades,
right,
trying to achieve, which is getting in the communities and being on the stage for.
Yeah, because our orchestra does get a fair amount of funding from the state to go to schools to play education programs. So those range from, you know, going to a school locally to like going down to Moab or Kanab on a bus and spending a few nights down there and playing education programs in students' own gymnasium or concert hall or whatever the school happens to have. In lieu of being able to travel to these schools, we had to find something to do. So
that's really interesting. I wonder if it'll end up being something of a hybrid, because I know Moab is what, how many hours away from?
like 4 hours.
Yeah, and I think moving forward, it's going to be great for the education program, because I know that we'll be going back to the schools again. We hit every school in the state every 3 years. And so I'm sure we'll be back on the road before too long, but we've also learned a lot about how to produce online content that can reach the students in those off years when we can't get to, you know, Blanding or somewhere, you know, in Four Corners somewhere. So I know it's going to really enhance the program actually in the long run to be able to have both in-person and online content.
So just bringing you a little bit closer to what you've just done, which is on location kind of concert. For you, as you're preparing for that and as you're sort of balancing orchestra and that sort of thing, what was your experience putting that together for GTMF in the midst of what at least I know from Madeline, there's a lot going on for you musically. How was that for you all, putting together this chamber music in this way?
Well, I will say that we had to delay it. We had planned to tape it a few weeks prior to when we did, but the cases were still pretty high from the holidays, and there was like a little bit of discomfort around that. So we pushed it a few weeks, and then it was great. Actually, it's great to play in person with colleagues, and you know, even though we're playing orchestra, there's not a lot of communication. You know, everyone's far apart. There's no intermissions. There's no time to chat. No one's really, you know, you even though you're getting to play, you're still missing that kind of human to human interaction. So with chamber music, of course, that's what it's all about. So that was a really enjoyable aspect of getting to do the filming.
No, that's such a nice way to say that too. And yeah, you sort of do feel like you actually, the little bit that I've done with orchestra, there is this sense of like, I don't want to go near you. Like, I don't want to go against the rules too, you know, like, so I'm sorry, I'm going to keep me and my mask in by myself, you know, waiting for, you know, getting on the stage or whatever. So I can understand. Yeah.
I was just going to say that recording this particular program that we're discussing today is the most fun musically I've had in months. I mean, it just felt like playing with your friends. I don't know. We did the last 3 movements of the Trout, and it was like the least uptight group I've played with, it seems like, in so long. We just had a great time. So I hope that comes through on the recording and the video, because it just felt like a release of a lot of tension that you sort of carry into work, and you keep your distance from people, and everything feels so official, like it should be, and that makes you more likely to just kind of go straight to your spot, do your job, get out of there.
Yeah.
So
I think there's so many rules that we all have to follow right now, and you don't want the person to sort of mess it up for everyone else, in a sense, because it's so precious to be able to come together and perform and play. And so everyone is being so good about following the protocols, it seems.
Yeah, and there's so much intensity that goes into the experience. And I think, you know, I think whether you're playing or not playing, it doesn't feel like it used to, you know? So like Jason was saying, there's never that kind of, there's never the unlimited joy that you would feel on like a Mahler climax or something like that. There's always like, it feels like something's about to fall on your head. And so this was part of it, I think, playing in that space. It has such an amazing cathedral sound, huge resonant acoustic. You can't really, I mean, you're just putting out sound, and it's so enjoyable, you know? And so I think there wasn't so much of this like in your head as we are feeling with like all these rules, like you mentioned, Jerry. It was fun, you know?
I'm curious for you guys too, what you chose to play, the William Grant Still and the Unsuk Chin, am I saying that right? that name right. So my question to you is, one, was that a first play through of those for you? And we'll start there, and then maybe just talk a little bit about your experience bringing these new names into your repertoire.
Well, I will say that both Jason and I have a background in programming, especially Jason, having run the Nova Chamber Music Series for at least 10 years, was it, Jason?
Yeah.
So he's been bringing unknown names into the conversation for years and years. And then the 1 year that I did it, one of my focus was on women composers. That was 2018-19. So I think it's been a passion for both of us to really kind of delve into. There's so much great music that people don't know. And so I think it's something that we were already passionate about. But when we were building this program, it was especially fun to make, it was the kind of program I'd want to listen to. And that's the kind of program I like to make, is something that I would want to go sit in the audience. There's a lot of variety. There's music from 4 continents. And so I think it was kind of what we've been doing, but just even more so. And for me personally, it was my first time playing the Summerland that I played. I had played other pieces by him, but I always like to branch out and try new things. So.
Yeah, it was my first go with the Unsuk Chin etude. She has 6 of them, and I want to play them all someday. I just can't tell you how many hundreds of hours I practiced this one 3-minute piece and still didn't feel ready. It's also the kind of thing too, where I look at her music and I think I know how hard it's going to be. Like, you're deciding how much time a project's going to take. And the 2 things that I've played by her were required at least like triple the amount of hours I thought it might. It's just really humbling experience to confront that level of difficulty in the music that you play.
Wow.
Jason's probably one of the only pianists in the world who can play that stuff. I mean, seriously, you guys have heard him with this Michael Hirsch and this. I mean, I can't wait to hear it. It's going to be awesome.
The fact that you say it's so hard, Jason, really means a lot. This is the things that you played. And I know, actually, I was looking at the programs that were from the Nova Chamber Music. I saw that you had done the Fantasy Mécanique.
Yes.
Which was it's like one of the first new music pieces I ever conducted myself. And so I knew that piece intimately, and I know how hard it is. And so,
yeah, I think Jason blames me for programming that one. I owe him a whiskey, at least one, maybe 10.
But for just talking more about your experiences then through Nova and programming. So in a sense, you've been doing a lot of what so many organizations are really doing now, which is programming underrepresented or a more diverse collection of composers. And what were some of the lessons that you've learned from doing that yourselves, Jason? I mean, you've always been seeking out new composers, trying to make connections to the music of the past and showing why we should be listening to it and how to listen to it differently.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, my current state of mind is definitely that I have not done enough. I'm trying to use some of that leftover space and pandemic schedule to just catch up on books that I should have read 20 years ago and try to see perspectives other than my own. And I mean, I feel a little bit powerless in a sense because I don't have some forum or venue through which to like do much. I mean, I can release online videos of myself playing music, but it feels like shouting into the wind a little bit. I mean, I know maybe some of my friends will watch it. I'm just trying to widen my perspective and to listen to as many composers who don't look like me as I can, and to try to just broaden my frame of mind and my experience. And that's kind of where I am with everything. I don't think I never did enough in this regard, I think, and I want to do better. The struggle can be that when you're programming on a classical series and you think about like the juxtaposition of like music of the past and music of the present. When I was artistic director of Nova, it was always like, how much modern music can I really put on there and still keep everyone happy and satisfied. Like for even this program, we have 2 living composers, and how many minutes of music by living composers, even though there's 2 names out of 5 on this program, how many minutes of music by these people, what fraction of the program does that represent? It's actually not a huge part of the program. I think if you're an organization that has a very conservative audience, this is even more of an issue. The great thing about Nova was always that people sort of hungered for new experiences, and that made it easy to blend in the past and the present for sure. But I think for an orchestra, that audiences tend to just be more conservative, and so how do you push the needle forward?
That was one of the great things about Nova is I took my season into the board to present it, and I expected to get somebody to say, oh gosh, maybe we shouldn't, maybe we'll replace that with some Mozart or something. But no, they were all in. They were like, we love it. Go do your thing. I think personally, I was actually a little bit embarrassed because I think there was a part of me that didn't really think that there was as much good music by women as there was by men. Because and being a woman, it's like crazy to admit that. But when I started down this road, I was like, oh, I really want to mix in women composers. And the more I dug, the more I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much great music. I think I really had my eyes opened by that experience. And now, it's just like weird to think that you would do a concert that would only have dead white guys on it. And so we also, that's why I like to mix in things like the Tarina piano trio that was suggested by the cellist, Matt Johnson, because I think that is a piece people aren't familiar with, probably. They may not have ever heard of Tarina, but they're going to like it right away. And I think that's kind of that middle ground. You're mixing in some unfamiliar music, but it's very accessible to even, your most conservative audience. So I think that was part of this program building too, was we had a few things that were maybe like Unsuk Chin, a little bit unusual. Then we have some things that, like the Summerland too, it sounds like a song, people, I think it's very accessible. And then of course our chestnuts like Schubert, you can anchor it a little bit. And
for the program.
So, yeah.
Right now, given the situation with orchestras where we're so limited on the size of the orchestras that can be presented on stage, that sometimes can present a challenge. I know that early in the season when people were starting to program, we were seeing a lot of the same classical pieces that were on orchestras across the country. And we were more cognizant of it because everybody was streaming everything. Since there is a sort of a call to really invest in sort of this diversity, equity, and inclusion, people are really starting to branch out and looking for things. And we are seeing going for older composers and people who were not as performed or celebrated while they were alive. But also what I really love is the push for composers from today. So trying to find more diversity in all of that, and just trying to show how they can fit in part of the canon and how they sort of come together. You were talking about what can you do as a performer, Jason, and sort of we have this clip of you playing from, it was a little surprise for Nova. And it was you had put together a program of Brittany Green, which is a composer I had not known, but this is how you sort of played that, and you almost went attacca into the Hammerklavier, which is one of the monumental works for piano. And so, but just sort of being able to do that and show us how things go together, being able to open our ears to that, I thought was, fantastic. And I know that Mike is itching to play a little bit of that.
Yay!
Mike, you can play a little bit, and then Jason can tell us a little bit more about it.
It is beautiful.
I think I was wearing this jacket in that.
I think all of us are like with the sweatpants on with our Zoom jacket or our,
Yeah, this is my Zoom shirt, so.
It's working. It's working good on you, Madeline. It's a good color. That's beautiful. It's even just getting to hear the amount that we heard, I just feel sort of all different in the body, actually, just sort of calm. Let's bring us back into some kind of fun before we say goodbyes and head off to the Spur together. I know that each one of us up here has prepared for this one. And it's a game segment that will feature 4 different underrepresented composers. And we just chose, because there was 4 of us and we needed to have some delineation, so this is by no means an exhaustive list, but basically I chose women composers, and I'm going to offer a sound bite of a woman composer and 3, what would be the right word, imposter women composers. We have to choose which one we think wrote this little segment that you'll hear. And that we are inviting everyone who's in our audience as well, anyone who's participating out there, to also please decide with us so that you are part of this game. The very first clip, if you're ready for it, Mike, is going to be, my category is European women composers of, well, actually it turns out, yes, from the past. Okay, here are the names that I'm going to say. One of them is correct, and we've got a really good guess from Emma Kale. Was that the sound, the music of, I'm going to say A, Fanny Mendelssohn, or B, Ethel Smythe, C, Alma Mahler, or D, Barbara Strozzi. Amy Beach, which is a very good guess.
Yeah, I was going to say Rebecca Clark, but then the rest of the group started, so I was like, oh, I hear viola.
Yeah, it does sound similar. What's your guess? What do you think, Madeline? Out of Fanny Mendelssohn, well, or Jerry? Should we start off with Jerry?
Yeah, let's start with Jerry.
Okay, Jerry.
Oh, I can't guess on this because we discussed.
Oh, he actually knows this one because we made up this game together. So sorry, it's going to be up to Madeline and Jason here. What are your guesses on that one?
Well, Alma Mahler is the only thing that makes sense to me, but I don't know Ethel Smith or Barbara Strozzi, or I'm not sure if I got the name right. So I don't know.
Right. So, Madeline?
Just to mix it up, I'll say B.
B, Ethel Smith. Axel Smythe. Yes! No. Yay! And I think you are the only person who guessed B. So Ethel Smythe, I had not known before I actually heard this quartet. This is her quartet in E flat.
She did a lot of horn music, right? There's a famous a horn for horn and violin and piano, I think, trio.
Her dates were 1858 to 1944, and she was a queer woman, a defiant genius, making music while going deaf. So in terms of going against the normal expectations, she was not. She is known because she ended up writing a piece that became the official anthem of the suffrage movement. So that is one piece that she's known for. It's called the March of the Women. But she actually wrote symphonies. She knew Brahms, she knew Tchaikovsky, and she was really well reputed to be up there with them. She didn't get married anyway, so she had no one to keep her name alive. So when she died, it just stopped. And they don't know her, but she's well worth continuing to listen to because she's really done some beautiful, I mean, for me, that's like, yeah, that's why I threw in Alma Mahler, who actually didn't ever write a string quartet as far as I could find, but
we wish she had.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, a little sneak peek. We're going to be doing some Ethel Smythe in an upcoming On Location from Atlanta So we'll be doing some songs with Kelly O'Connor singing. So keep your ears peeled for that coming up.
All right, Madeline, you are next on the list of people to go.
Ooh. Okay, so my category was Black composers, and specifically I went with Black composers that incorporate spirituals into their compositions because of the Summerland that I play on this On Location concert. Okay, I have to say that's an awesome piece, and Jason might know this one, so no cheating, Jason.
He's looking confident down there. I don't know.
In addition to, of course, William Grant Still is the piece that I play on the concert, but we have Florence Price, R. Nathaniel Dett, Margaret Bonds, and Samuel Coleridge Taylor, who is actually not American, but did incorporate spirituals. Anybody got a guess?
I was going to guess B. I was going to guess R. Nathaniel Dett.
Okay. Jerry, do you have a guess?
I am only familiar with music from 2 of the 4. I have no clue. I'll guess. I'll guess maybe D.
Okay. Jason, do you know?
I've totally heard this piece before, but I'm gonna guess Margaret Barnes because you like women composers. That's my guess.
So Jason is right. It is Margaret Bonds.
Yeah.
There you go. This piece is called Troubled Water. And I think when you Google Margaret Bonds, it comes up quicker than most of her other music. She, her dates are, let me see here, 1913 to 1972. She went to Northwestern and got a couple degrees from there. She is most known for this type of music that incorporated the spiritual. She had quite an artistic relationship with Langston Hughes and set a lot of poetry. So anyway, I thought her music was really cool. She was someone, there's a nice little like 4 or 5 minute documentary you can watch about her on YouTube. So I recommend everyone do that. Of course, Florence Price is pretty popular right now. We're seeing her symphonies and especially the violin concertos. A lot of violinists are playing those. And and Samuel Coleridge Taylor was not American, but he did in his later career incorporate the spiritual. So good job, Jason.
Well, super too that a panelist guessed right. So like,
this is high stress. I thought this was supposed to be a relaxing event.
Yeah, we knew you guys could handle it. Okay, so the next person to go is Jerry.
Okay, so I was working with composers from Central South America, Latino composers who are sort of influenced by folk music in a sense, or have at least some folk music that inspires their writing. And so, Mike, do you want to play the clip?
Too hard, Jerry, says the boss is saying it's too hard, Jerry. Sorry.
So let's see, Mike, if you want to put up some choices here. So we have Gabriela Lina Frank, Ricardo Zolmodun, Hilda Paredes, or Roberto Sierra. Some names we know more so than others. Yeah.
I'm going to go with one of the people that B or C that I'm not familiar with their music, so I'm going to say B.
I'll throw in the C then, because that's where I'm going. I thought maybe this is a woman. Maybe then it's like it's the only thing I'm totally guessing, except that I don't think it's Roberto Sierra, because I feel like I at least have some idea of what his sound is like. Jason, you're going to be the one who gets it
Yeah,
right?
I'm kind of in agreement. I think, yeah, I don't think it could be Gabby Frank or Roberto Sierra. So it's somewhere in the middle there, but not sure.
So
You're C, Jason. Come on. Commit.
Okay, B. I choose B.
B. Okay, it was C.
Ah.
Which means we're still actually
Either
3
for
for
the
3 on getting. Nobody has been completely without a vote, so we're doing good.
But just to let you know, yeah, some more about her. She's a composer that hails from Mexico, lives in London right now, and she is maybe this isn't the best example of music that is inspired by folk music, but it is part of the inspiration in her musical output. Studied some training in Germany as well as in England, and she has written operas. She's also associated with Irvin Arditi, violinist of the Arditi Quartet, as they're married. And so she's written, that piece was actually the introduction to a concerto she wrote for him.
Good to get to know a new name.
Jason.
Okay.
So please lift us out.
My directive was Asian composers, so I tried to narrow that down to a list of potential, narrow it down to either Chinese or Chinese Americans, just to be a little more specific. We should just maybe listen to it, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the composers, and we can have at it. Can I tell you a little bit about the piece with like on the honor code that no one will Google it? Like, can I tell you the title of the piece in a little bit? You know what I mean? Like, so the title of the piece is "The Moon is Following Us," I believe, if I'm saying that rightly. And this composer has a, I think the episode that the piece is supposed to relate to is a drive in the car with your child, and the child said something like, "Oh, the moon is following us as we travel," like, that sensation that it looks like the moon or the sun is actually sort of following you. Anyway, it's within a modernist setting, of course, reference to certain types of Chinese folk music. And there was that little snippet, I think, that you could tell was sort of breaking out of the modernist aesthetic to something a little more folky. And I'm dying to play this piece, which is why I suggested it. So the list of composers you have to choose from, and this seems like really hard because I don't know, you'll know a few names from this list. Du Yun is younger than me, won the Pulitzer, I think, a few years ago, teaches at Peabody. Tan Dun, we all know from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and then, of course, I think worked a lot with Yo-Yo Ma, Silk Road Project. Lei Liang teaches at UC San Diego, I think, in the composition department there. And then Huang Ru, I went to Oberlin with back in the day. Yeah, let's give it a shot. What do you think?
Well, I'm basing my guess on the fact that it's human nature to put it in the middle of the pack, but then I'm thinking Jason might be clever, so I'm going to go with A.
Okay. I didn't arrange the order of the names.
Oh,
so.
no. Okay. Because, of course, I put my choice in the middle, and so did everyone else. So I'm going to go with A because maybe someone else is cleverer than I am.
Okay. I went with C. Yeah, I just sat and listened and looked at the names, and I'm completely doing it from like my psychic friends here, because except that I have some idea of Tan Dun.
Right.
I'm guessing C as well.
Okay. I don't remember what order they were in. That was Lei Liang.
Oh, so it's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. You're both right.
So was Emma.
With my instinct. It goes in the middle. The choice goes in the middle.
Nice. And that's nice to get to know that name. Can you say a little bit more
Him,
about that?
yeah, no, he teaches at UC San Diego.
He, she.
He. Yeah. I'm not even, I think this is one of those recent, like, Facebook has been suggesting friends to me who, I don't know, lately it's been composers. And so, you like, oh, I've heard this name before. Click on his profile. I'm like, oh, he, has a composition position at UC San Diego. Let's go listen to his music. This is like 2 days ago, And so I just started to listening to stuff on his website. I'm like, oh, I like this piece. I have to get this music. So anyway.
So Facebook is good for something then.
Yeah, it really is.
They didn't cover that in the social dilemma, that aspect.
Yeah.
Oh man. So thank you. Thank you all for playing. Thank you out in the audience for playing as well. And what's coming off of what you just said, Jason, and maybe this is like a nice way to kind of close out like what you just talked about, Jason, about like, wow, who is that? And then you look, and then because everything is so available and you're listening, and then you get inspired to listen, and we've got the time to, in a weird way. Like we've got, at least for me, the sort of the space in my life to really start to look at new things. What you also were saying, Jason, which is to open our minds to new ways of thinking. Like I'm not overwhelmed, so then there is this space for it.
I think it's an opportunity to try to not get sucked back into the rat race. For me personally, it feels like that a little bit. Like you're saying, when there's this space, there's also more room for creativity, and of course then that flows into our playing. And I just don't want to get sucked back into saying yes to stuff that I don't want to do anymore, so I have time for my own projects. And I really hope that sticks for people, because I think that's been kind of, we were all exhausted. We were all exhausted so much to the point that it took months for me to really like come out of feeling like I hadn't just run a marathon. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to hold on to that going forward personally.
Yeah, so much appreciation for having both of you on. Thank you so much for playing this hard game. And but actually really, like, I wrote down names. Like I know I will now go and look forward to these new names that I'm not aware of. So thank you for bringing those forward. It's kind of fun that you guys helped create the game this time around.
Yeah.
And I really, really hope that we see both of you out there this summer. I mean, knock on wood.
Of course, thank you to Jason and Madeline for being our guests, and thank you to everybody in the audience and the GTMF On Location of Madeline, Jason, and friends from Salt Lake playing will be on the 25th of February at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And we will take the month of March off and return in April with On Location and Backstage Pass. So looking forward to seeing you back in April. And of course, when you get a chance, please like us on Facebook, Instagram, follow us, as well as subscribing to the YouTube channel for more shows of On Location and Backstage Pass. That was beautiful.
It actually was. You're totally right.
Sorry.
I was like, wow, that's a very dramatic pause.
That's mine.
Leave you a grace.
Yay, Jason.
I'm like, folk music, huh?
Wow. I'm fired.